And we are live. Awesome sauce. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Tea Time Tuesday. I do have my tea here tonight, and it is my favorite one that I keep sharing. This is a blend. It's Little Berry Hibiscus blend. Let me see if I can get it so where you can see it. It is from Kenya, and it is a white tea, so it's caffeine free. So I like to have tea this time of night that doesn't have caffeine in it, and this is all the other ones I have are black teas, and I don't need to be drinking a black tea in the evening because then I won't get any sleep. So this is my favorite. It's an herbal tea. It's by Just Tea. So I get this, but you can get it through Just Tea. I think you can probably look online and get it, but I love it because it's from Kenya, and obviously everybody knows I have an affinity for Kenya. We'll get to our guest in a minute, but I wanted to share with you to be sure to go to basketsofbeadskenya.com and look at the blog. This week's blog is a year in review of the Dynamic Vision Foundation, which is our nonprofit official name. It's under Baskets and Beads, Kenya.org, actually. .org. Basketsofbeadskenya.org is the foundation name if you want to go there and check that out. But you can go to the website at basketsandbeadskenya.com and look at the blog and check out our year in review, everything we've been able to accomplish this year. I mention this every week. We're still raising funds to make sure that our ladies have food because they're on restrictions still until March 12th. Their president is going to reevaluate on March 12th whether or not to open things up. And because they're closed, the ladies usually do their sales in the street market there, and they haven't been able to do that for a year now, just about. So we have been providing food packs for them every month. We've been successfully receiving enough donations to do that. So anybody who has donated and supported that cause, thank you so much. We are still continuing that. So if you want to go donate for that, you can go to basketsandbeadskenya.org. It is tax deductible because our nonprofit is a 501c3, so any help would be appreciated. But and as Tea Time Tuesday, I'm always finding interesting and exciting guests, and we have Laniea here today that we sort of met through Vanessa from Dolce when she had Dolce Blossom, right?
Right.
That was some time ago. And Laniea reached out to me about an event that she's having this weekend. And I wanted to have a conversation about the event and explain the importance of supporting, even if you're not local, you're listening to this and you're not local and can't attend the event, the importance of supporting events like this, because there are a lot of vendors. I'm a fair trade vendor. There are a lot of this event. She'll share with us some of the vendors that are going to be there, but a lot of handmade products and a lot of small business products. It's very important to still support small. So welcome, Laniea. Thanks so much for coming on Tea Time Tuesday.
Thank you. Thanks, Aldana. Hi, everyone. That's me, Laniea. It's so weird to try to talk to people, but yeah, thank you. I'm super excited that you're going to be there at the event too, because it ties in with my my mission basically in life. So I'm grateful that you're going to join us. It's awesome.
Awesome. We'll share a little bit about your mission and then why you decided to have this event. And also, obviously, we'll share about the event. It's this Saturday, February 6th, right? Is Saturday.
Right. Yes. In Rancho Cucamonga. Well, what it is I have an organization, Comedy for Causes, and I produce and perform comedy shows to raise money for good causes, of which I've also done some for various organizations in Kenya and Ethiopia and India, as well as, for the United States, law enforcement, animal shelters. Comedy for Causes started about 11 years ago. And what prompted it was my church, people weren't tithing because the recession had hit. Mm-hmm. And so whenever my church said we weren't going to be able to pay some of the staff and various things, I just started stand-up. I'd been doing it for about a year. And I thought, oh my gosh, I need my church here, because oftentimes I need to go pray on Sunday about the things I talked about on Saturday for forgiveness, because in stand-up we can envelope. So I did that. But I asked my pastor, I said, what if we were to do a comedy show to raise money for the church? And he said, I love it. And that's when it happened. The show, my church is a small church in Rancho Cucamonga, and there was a line wrapped around the back of the church. My pastor said, come here, let me show you this. And I was in the green room and I walked outside and oh my gosh, this is amazing. So then I started Comedy for Causes, and I was doing comedy shows at my church. We would do a monthly show at my church, and then I've been doing them everywhere. I did Chicago, Idaho, because I'm originally from Idaho. Well, clearly, with COVID, we haven't been doing any stand-up whatsoever. A lot of comics have tried various things, such as doing stand-up on Zoom. And I've had some people ask me if I wanted to do a Zoom show, but I can't.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, I do that with speaking. I do some speaking and training on Zoom, but it's so much different when you have an audience, the energy of an audience. So I'm sure it's the same with comedy. You have that audience and you kind of feed off their energy. It's a whole lot different ball game on Zoom.
Oh yeah, and then on top of that, all my jokes aren't going to hit, and so needless to say, I'm gonna probably want to give up stand-up. If I did, I'd bomb on Zoom unless I throw in a laugh track or two. But that seems kind of cheating. So anyhow, I've been in advertising forever. That's what always paid the bills, during the day, so that I could do stand-up at night. And this last year, I started something called Inland Empire on the Go, where I can help promote small businesses. And I'd seen a few of the local businesses, like some of the vendors that are going to be there, they actually posted how they weren't able to be at an event. It was canceled, or, how sales were down, how they missed people. And I was just thinking, gosh, all these small businesses that one of them is Dissertation Soaps, and they make handmade soaps with all these yummy ingredients and organic stuff. It's all paraben free. I don't know. It's good stuff. You'll have to Google it. But, gosh, Wicked Sisters Candles, they make candles, various scents. And so I was just thinking, what can I do for these people? And then I realized I have a friend that has a business in Ranch Cucamonga, and it's a big open space. It's kind of like a barn in a sense. 2 big, huge doors, and they've got these big wine barrels that they've turned into tables. And they said I could use a space for whatever I want, so long as we abide by, all the different rules and such. So I thought, well, great. I'm going to put together a little fair, like some sort of, but I wanted it to be specific. So I wanted it to tie into Valentine's Day. So that's why I called it Sweet Treats and Handmade Goods, because I have Indulge. She does these dip strawberries and cake bombs and cookies and just all these amazing, delicious things. She actually did my daughter's birthday party, which was a Coraline theme, and she's incredible. And then, of course, I remembered you because whenever we were talking to Vanessa, and Vanessa showed me your products, and that's how we met. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is awesome, because, well, I always try to check my intentions. What are my intentions of this? Is it for me? Is it for them? And oftentimes I'm trying to do it for others. And so, of course, I definitely want to help these small businesses. But then on top of that, being able to help your business, because you're helping women in Kenya. It's just such a cool thing. It's just, it all feels good. It's funny because I actually read a book a while back. I got to remember what it's called. But it talks about the addiction of, it's called a giver's high, I think, or a helper's high. Have you heard of that before?
No, it sounds familiar, but I don't.
Well, they've done studies and research on it. And it's, because I've done a lot of shows. I've done shows for people with cancer, people that have had funerals and they couldn't afford to pay to put their loved one to rest. It's heavy. But we do these shows and we help raise money for the individuals. And I've had people tell me, wow, you're doing such great things. That's awesome. And I said, it's honestly just as rewarding to me doing it. It's like, it just feels really good.
Yeah, it's one of the Air Force Corps. I was, and I don't know if you knew that about me. I was in the Air Force for 23 years, and one of the Air Force Corps Master Sergeant retired. Could still take names. Anyway, one of the Air Force Corps values is service before self, and I never really realized I had lived a life of service until after I got out and people would say thank you for your service. I never saw it as that. I was in the service or whatever. But there's sayings in different things that say, when I got busy, I got better. When you give back to others, it helps for me anyway. And I think for a lot of people I know, especially in the fair trade world, it helps me feel like, I don't know, it makes my life make more sense. It's like I'm not using my time to go do something for me all the time. I'm doing something to help other people. And we started in Kenya with 5 women, and we're up to over 30 now. So, and I'm hoping to grow that, but there's some women there that don't want to work. This is our slogan is a hand up, not a hand out, building self-sustaining families through entrepreneurship, one woman at a time. Okay. So we were teaching them how to become business owners and how to be, we were close to being fully supporting by their own contributions, but COVID happened. And so that's kind of gone on a standstill. But the fact that you're doing an event to help me and help me help others and then help other small businesses is so important, because the big businesses don't need us. The small businesses do. Small businesses have suffered during COVID. I like before we got on the call, and I've mentioned this to the show before, I've had to leave 2 of my 3 spaces because the sales just weren't there. And some of my wholesale customers went out of business, and some were not able to order, or they ordered very little. And just like me, I'm not able to order as much from my ladies, which is why we're raising the money for the food packs. So the fact that you're doing something that's going to be helping small businesses is amazing. I'm so grateful that you contacted me to be part of it.
Yeah, there's a quote, and it's my favorite one. It's by Muhammad Ali, and it says, "Our service to others is the rent we pay for our space here on earth." And that's how I just want to live, because I can't imagine we were created just to take. I can't think that. I mean, I've asked people before, what's your legacy? Have you thought about what people are going to say about you after you've gone? And I've heard actually a couple people say, no, I really don't care. Okay, well, I do. Yeah. I'd like to do something for my kids. And my kids are older. My son is 31 and my daughter's 29 and my teenager 17. And I want them to see that that's what we're here for. Yeah, we're all connected. We're all supposed to help each other. We love each other. I thought I didn't really like people until I couldn't have access to them anymore.
Yeah, I miss people too. I miss people. I miss events. I miss all of that. And the scripture in the Bible that talks about, when you give to the least of these, you're giving unto me. And that's kind of our slogan for that's on my t-shirt for awesome. What we're doing, because in Kenya, these women live in little mud huts and they have no running water, kitchens, bathrooms, none of that. And the whole thing about, I went over there and I on a mission trip and met these women, and one of them gifted me with one of these paper bead necklaces, and it's kind of started from there. She was like wanting sponsorship for her son to go to school, and I woke up in the middle of the night with this God-inspired idea to buy some beads, sell them with your book when you speak, book and a bead, and thought, oh, I can buy a few beads. Yeah, it's turned into a lot more than that. Right. So much so that when my son moved back home recently, I had to, my spare room was my bead room. And then it all came out into the living room and had to be reorganized into the storage. And I had no place to walk in here. It was ridiculous. But, and I say it all the time on here, why I'm so passionate about still raising money to make sure they have food, because I didn't have time to go to the store. So I went by somewhere and I got a sandwich. And so I can sit down and eat at my table. I can't do that without thinking about making sure that they have that food too. They're just in my heart. And that's my legacy, is to help, if I can help them and give their children a better life. That's
awesome. I just, like I said, I don't know. I run across people all the time that are believers or non-believers. I like to I like to think of how Jesus walked and how he, how he thought and how he wasn't ashamed to sit next to someone that, maybe smelled bad, was dressed, and he was all about giving and
Yeah,
loving.
giving and loving your neighbor. And that I talk about that a lot, about that verse that says, love your neighbor as yourself. That means everybody, even the people you don't like.
Yeah.
And I'm in my job, I'm a contracts manager. And I have this sign. Oh, I can't get it off. It says, be kind, because I'll get a little charged up when something's not going right. They're
You're human.
to rip us off in a price. And my pastor has a saying. It's called EGR, extra grace required. And actually, my words for this year, I chose grace and gratitude, having more grace for people and always walking in gratitude. And I think the love your neighbor, people are like, oh, I have to love my neighbor. Yeah, that means everybody. It means everybody.
Even the ones you think are unlovable.
Right.
That's I did a friend of mine. They have this, trying to remember the name of the organization, but they help feed the homeless on Skid Row. And so he'd asked me a few years back if I wanted to help. Fox News did a story on Comedy for Causes, and they actually had me come out to a place in Los Angeles, and they interviewed me and asked me about what we do. And then that he saw the segment, reached out to me, and so asked me to come and be part of what they were doing. And it was amazing. We had enough food to feed 1,000 homeless people.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately, there's way more than that, though, there. I mean, there's a lot of homeless people on Skid Row. No idea.
And with COVID, it's increased.
Oh, I can imagine.
Really increased.
Well, when I was there and we were feeding some of the homeless people, we would all stand in like a kind of like a line of people here and then people here, and we would grab a bag and give it to them, and then just kind of going back and forth. And I had a few people come through and actually be kind of mad. They were annoyed. Why didn't I want 2 burritos, or I want 2 bags, or they would come back around when they were only supposed to come through once, or just various things. And I said, wow, Mike, how can you do this whenever they're not grateful, or they're angry or annoyed with you, or whatever it may be? And he said, it's not our job to judge or to have an opinion. We're here to help. That's what we're doing. And that really made me rethink things. And, I live in Riverside, and there's a pretty significant homeless population in Riverside. And I was driving home recently, and I saw a man with a blanket on, and it was really cold outside, and it was around 11 o'clock at night, and I was tired. I was excited to come home and go to bed. And I was at the stoplight, and he was going across the street, and I was thinking, gosh, where is he going to go lay his head with that blanket?
Yeah.
Seriously, where in this neighborhood is he going to find a cozy spot in an alley, on grass, in a parking lot? And it hurts. It really does. It just makes me sad. And so empathy is almost debilitating. It's like it weighs you down. So the only way I could help heal that what I feel when I see things like that is by giving and doing. And then it at least helps even it out a little bit, because I can't afford to give everybody money as much as I'd love to.
Yeah.
When I get really rich, I'm going to. I will. If I only play the lottery, I don't, but maybe.
Right. Well, so how did you get interested in comedy? How did that come about?
Well, I was dared. Actually, it was in 2010, and I've always been in some sort of a sales environment, and I've always had a bubbly personality and very my hands. I watch all my shows. I watch my videos, and my hands have their own little light.
Own zip code.
They do. They're always going. But I'm very animated, and I didn't come from a good upbringing. I actually have I have 2 urns in my bedroom. One is of my mother, and the other is of my sister. And they both died from drug use. So I just have a lot to be grateful for. But I've always been bubbly and happy. And then my friend said, you got to do something. You got to do either be a radio DJ or do something. And she dared me to try stand-up. And I tried it. The first time I did it, I loved it. It was awesome. A bunch of my friends came, and it was people I knew. So they laughed. Of course, they're my friends. They're going to be supportive. And so I thought, oh my gosh, I'm so funny. I'm going to keep doing it. So 3 days later, I performed a pachanga in front of 150 strangers, and I bombed so hard to the point that I should have considered stopping. It was pretty bad. But at that point, I thought, no, I'm not going to let this win. And I decided to keep doing it. And everybody told me the best way to get better is to go up and go up and go up and go up. So I would go to every open mic I could, coffee shops, improvs, wherever it could be. I would go on stage. And because of my upbringing, clearly my mom, she was a mess, but it gave me a lot of material. So it worked out really well. I'm actually kind of grateful now.
Yeah. That's interesting because my mother died of alcoholism when I was 12.
Wow.
So I share all those stories in my speaking. It's kind of a parallel. I used to be petrified to speak in front of people.
Oh, yes.
And I now when I speak, and I've done a lot of work around healing from my father was an alcoholic too. He died when I was 22. I came home one day, the house was empty. He left, and when I turned 18, he's like, see ya. He moved from Texas to Florida and didn't tell me where.
Wow.
So it's kind of like, okay, have a nice life. But I use all of that when I talk, just to show people, like, look, I came from this mess, and you don't have to live in yesterday and be stuck in yesterday. And right. I talked a little bit about this on Sunday. I do Swahili Sunday show, which is usually more motivational. It's supposed to be eventually interviews with our ladies when we can get them out of the slum to go to my Kenya director's house. But right now it's just usually she comes on now and then, and I teach a Swahili word and I do some inspiration. But I was talking about some of that, how you don't have to have the failures from your life follow you the rest of your life. And that I like to use the full armor of God and say that the devil wants to shoot those fiery arrows of things at you to stop you, to get you to think that you're a loser or whatever. So I've kind of used all that in my speaking to show people that you don't have to be a product of your past. You happened, but you don't have to live there, Yeah,
my motto is I always say that you're not what you're from unless you choose to be. Because mind you, I have a sister that's in prison, and I lost my other sister. And granted, I by the grace of God, I turned out I had something. I don't know what it was. But I also understand why they went the route they went, because two of my sisters were raised in foster homes. They never got to experience unconditional love. They suffer with various forms of attachment issues. And so like I said, you're not what you're from unless you choose to be. And so in other words, I do understand why some fall astray. I mean, it's hard. I feel really bad. My one sister that's in prison, she just reached out to me. We haven't talked for over 20 years. And she said, I didn't think you're going to take my call. And I said, well, I don't really know you, but I don't want you to think that you don't have anyone to talk to. So yeah, but I definitely believe that women need to be exposed to different ways of life.
Yeah.
So that they could see that that is a potential. TV, I learned from TV. I mean, it's weird to say, it's really sad to say because of what happened with Bill Cosby, but I learned a lot from the Cosby Show, because I learned, wow, look, you could have a mom and a dad and they both have careers and they're both sarcastic and they're good parents and they've got all these kids and just stuff happening. And I paid attention to that a lot. And I tell people I learned a lot of my parenting skills from the Cosby Show. And then after everything happened, my friend texts me and she says, I'm really sorry to hear that your celebrity dad was just as bad as your real one. But dang it.
Yeah.
But even still, I just took what I could from the things I was exposed to in a positive light, as opposed to the negative.
So this event that's happening this weekend, is this your first one?
Yeah, well, because with Comedy for Causes, oftentimes I've had vendors come and they'll set up a table and they'll donate an item for raffle for the Comedy for Causes event. And so I'm familiar with doing the events. So I just decided to invite some of the vendors out, and then have a small booth fee so that I can make a little for myself, but then also give something to the venue because they're not out charging me to use the space. And then I just started reaching out. So I have dissertation soaps, and like I said, they make yummy soaps, and they're on Instagram and Facebook, and people can order their products. Then I have Wicked Sisters candles, and they just came out with a whole new line of candles that are various scents. Are amazing. Indulge, she's the one that does the strawberries, and she's a mom. She's a mom, a stay-at-home mom, with her little son, and I'm trying to make sure I word it correctly. Her son is autistic, as opposed to, as my friend was telling me the other day, because she teaches speech therapy for children, and she said you don't say autistic kid. My son, I can't remember the proper terminology. But anyhow, she's a stay-at-home mom because she has to work with her son. And so she's thrived on, or she's been resilient and resourceful in doing these, the handmade chocolates or the various chocolates and stuff for parties and so forth. Then I have Zenergy Decor and Zenergy Decor. And she has crystals and various things of that sort. So she makes like picture frames or pens and things with crystals on it. And then, of course, your company, which is great because you have jewelry. I love the beads. My friend, actually, it's called Love Way, and they help an organization in Kenya. I think it's they're trying to build a school there. And so she brought those beads. They're the paper beads. I love them. So I got a bunch of them myself.
It's incredible to think this is made out of a magazine, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Because they're glossy.
Yeah, because they dip them in varnish. So the way these are made. So we did actually a time study on this, and one of these necklaces. So this is one of these. It's long.
Yeah.
So you double it up. So it takes one woman about an hour to cut and roll the beads for one of these necklaces, and then it takes her 12 minutes to string it, and then it gets dipped in varnish and hangs to dry. And depending on what time of the year it is, it's getting ready to go into the rainy season soon, and it's damp, and it takes longer for it to dry during that than it does during the dry season. So we also have a goal of I want to build a place for them to work and build new housing and get them out of the slum, and if necessary, a school, or they can go to the local school. We just had somebody, an organization, the Rotary Club. A Rotary Club gave us a donation for Christmas, which we used with another donation to get food and blankets and clothing. And now they did another donation, and we were able to, I think it was like 13 kids we got school uniforms for, because they're letting all the kids go back to school, but nothing else is opened up yet. But they all have to have uniforms. There's school fees and there's uniforms. And one mother was like, oh, my child's not going to school. I can't cover all this. And we were able to cover the uniforms for, I have to post the picture. I got like all ages of kids in their uniforms. It's so cute to see them all. So it just makes my heart swell when I see it. It's like, oh, those kids, they're having a chance at a better life. They're getting to go to school, and they're having an education, and they're learning things, and maybe they'll be the first to get out of that slum and go make something of themselves. And some of the mamas are older, and so their life is kind of, actually we have one of our older mamas who's taking care of 4 grandkids. That's not uncommon. So, and one of them is like, when I was there in February, she was just a little baby, like, I don't know, maybe a year or a year and a half. And she had this horrible infection all over her face. And so we took her to the hospital and got her treatment, and it's like, because where they live, it's built on an old landfill, so it's not clean at all. And yeah.
So a lot of germs and such.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of like, oh, wash your hands. Well, where are they going to do that? There's one little place that has some running water, and they have another place. They have 3 pumps in the slum. 2 of them are broken. One has a lock on it, and I call it the water mafia. They've taken over, and they charge people for water.
Wow.
So they have to go down with buckets to the river, and it's rough.
So you've obviously been there.
Yeah, I've been there 5 times.
Wow.
Since 2018. I would have been there a couple more times, but I had a trip planned, and I thought, oh, July. Nope. November. I actually booked a flight to go in November. And because the pastor who I originally went with on the first trip, he went in October, and he said, oh, it's okay. So I booked my flight for November, and then things got bad again. And so I canceled it, and I wanted to go this month, but then the restrictions were extended. So we're waiting to see what happens March 12th. But as soon as I can go, I'm going, because I went last year, February last year is the last time I've been, 2020. Wow. It's been almost pretty much a year since I've seen them. And I mean, I have a director in Kenya that's part of the Baskets and Beads. And so I'm communicating with her all the time. And every now and then the time difference is such, I think it's 11 hours right now. Daylight savings, it goes back and forth. So sometimes I'll stay up late, and when they meet, I'll call in, and I'm on the phone, and she's passing me around everybody. It's just not the same,
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely been a wake-up call, this whole, I don't know, pandemic.
Yeah.
Something I've never been through before.
None of us really. But so give the location of the event, the time, and like where parking is and all that.
Yes, I'm going to pull up the address right now. It's if you're familiar with Rancho Cucamonga, or if anybody isn't, I actually did a little video when I did one of my comedy shows there just to tell people. But if you're it's off of Archibald, so you'll be going north off of Archibald. The closest freeway would be the 10 freeway. So then you'd head north on Archibald, and just as you get, I think it's either before the tracks or right after the railroad tracks, there's 8th Street, the number 8, 8th 8th Street. So then you'll make a right, which means you would be going east on 8th Street. And there's an old winery back there. It used to be called Pierre Bien Winery, and it's no longer that, but that's the building that they're using, or that we'll be in. And there's parking all around that. So you could park in the back, you could park on the side. The address is actually, the physical address is 10013 8th Street, Unit W. And the parking is available behind the Red Barn. That's what I actually put on the flyer. And if people have any questions, they can call me or look up Inland Empire on the Go. And I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and you can reach out to me that way just to get details on the event. It starts at 12 and it runs till 4. Admission is $5, and there'll be vendors that'll have food and I believe wine, so people could sit down at the tables. They have the tables set up and chairs, and you sit with your group, wear your masks, and bring your masks so that way you feel safe, and then so do others.
And if you don't have any masks, I just got a shipment in from Kenya.
What's that?
If somebody doesn't have a mask and they need more masks, I have a shipment of masks from Kenya that I'll be bringing.
Awesome.
I haven't even picked them up yet. They came in, the box came in from Kenya yesterday, 50 masks and 50 headbands and some wooden spoons and some pillowcases.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm sold out of masks, and everybody's like, "You're getting some more?" Yes, I'm getting some more. So they're really colorful. I can't wait to see them. I've only seen them on video. They're made out of the Ankara print fabric, and they're all colorful. The headbands are all colorful. Everything's just really nice.
Do you have headbands too?
Yeah.
You'll be bringing those, I'm assuming.
I am, yeah. So
yeah, I'm excited to shop from all the vendors, because what I did is I kind of handpicked vendors that I would like to shop at. Don't get me wrong, I want everyone to do well, but I also I was like, oh, I love this one, and I love this one. Oh, let's bring them all.
Yeah, well, my candle stock here is low, so I'm looking forward to seeing what the candle maker has. I love candles that smell good, and
Me too.
I have one from it's a veteran-owned company. And the scent is called Jesus Take the Wheel.
Oh, clever. That's awesome.
Yeah, and
We don't need that.
it's almost down to nothing. So I'll be needing some more. So I'll definitely be shopping there and looking forward to it. So it's from noon to 4, and people can come and shop and hang out. And shop small. The importance of shopping small and being a fair trade business. You know, we say shop fair. Fair trade is just like handmade things that are also the person who makes them is getting a good wage for it. So if somebody, it doesn't have to be just like somebody from another country that's fair trade. That everybody that you're dealing with is local fair trade because they're handcrafting their goods, and it's important to support the small business. I keep saying it. That I saw somebody that had a meme that said Amazon doesn't need you, small business does. So while it's convenient to go click and buy, I'm guilty of doing it as well for certain things.
It's convenient, like you said.
Yeah, but being able to support a small business that's trying to put food on their table and help their family or help somebody else, like what I'm doing is helping a lot of families, or the individual that's working for themselves to help their own family, like you talked about the mom having to stay home to care for her child, and this is a way for her to earn some income to be able to put some food on her table because she can't leave to go to work because she has to care for her child who's so.
And there's ways to do it, and I like that. I was going to ask you about the concept, which I should know all of these things, but there's always something more to learn. But fair trade. So it's almost as though being treated fairly for your trade.
Right. Yeah. So
that's what you're doing.
I'm a verified member of the Fair Trade Federation. There's 9 fair trade principles that they look over your business to make sure you're doing. So to making sure that you're paying the artisans fairly, that there's no child labor, there's no slave labor, that you're creating opportunities for them to grow. It's that they have safe working conditions, because there's actually an article that was written in the Washington Post about the chocolate industry and how there's a lot of slave labor used for, and we had a show previously, and I think Cecilia's still listening, about human trafficking. And a lot of people, when they think about human trafficking, they think about the sex trade. And some of my women were prostitutes, and now with the beads, they don't have to do that anymore, thankfully. Wow. But it's also slave labor. There's a lot of people that are sold into slavery or forced into slavery. The chocolate industry and some of the big chocolate manufacturers like Hershey's has actually, they keep saying, I guess, that they're going to fix it and not do it anymore. But where they get their chocolate from steals children and forces them into labor to pick the cocoa, the cacao, however you say that, for the chocolate. And it's so, even one of the things I give to some customers, like raving fan customers, I give brownies from Fairy Tale Brownies, which is they're addicting. and when I started, so I'm verified member of the Fair Trade Federation. That means everything I'm doing is fair trade for my business. And I started to do some research. I'm like, where do you get your chocolate from? I need to know. And this is why. And they sent me the information, and I went and looked it up. And while they're not a fair trade certified chocolate, the chocolate company had on their website how they're building a sustainable business and making sure families are able to go to school, and the kids are going to school. They don't employ any children. And it had this whole thing about how their business was run. I said, okay, I'm good with that. So you have to be, a lot of people are not really cognizant. They don't think about it, that we call it slow fashion. Who makes your clothes? Who makes your coffee? Who makes your chocolate? It's if each one of us just, even if you just take one thing, like for instance, tea. I know this is a fair trade certified tea because it says that they're a Fair Trade Federation member like me. And then I think they're also, yes, that I thought maybe this one isn't, but so I know that their practices has been verified by the Fair Trade Federation. So I feel good buying this tea, knowing that they're not forcing somebody to go pick the tea leaves. Kenya is very well known for tea. So it's like, okay, I'm buying something that's what the essence of fair trade is.
That's awesome. Gosh, that's definitely, I mean, I'm sure a lot more people know about it than don't, but it is something that we should all look for and be aware of, because I didn't think about that.
Yeah. And before I went to Kenya, I mean, I'd actually shopped in fair trade stores before, but didn't really connect the dots. I'm like, oh, this is a nice piece of jewelry. Okay, it was made by somebody. Oh, that's great. I didn't really pay that much attention until I got involved in, oh, okay, this is a fair trade business. I need to learn about fair trade and what that is. And then once I learned about that, I'm like, oh my gosh, let me pay attention to some of the things that I'm buying. I'm looking at labels. I'm looking for, so I make sure that any chocolate that I eat is either a fair trade verified chocolate, or it's a fair trade chocolate, because of the thing I read about the chocolate industry. And anybody who's listening, if you research chocolate slavery, if you put those two words in, I have it in a post on my blog, but if you just Google slavery in the chocolate industry or something along those lines, you can read about the problem there. And think about that next time you get a candy bar, that candy bar you're eating from a company who employs slave children to make the chocolate.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, so I didn't know it either. And now that I do know, I'm sharing that as much as I can so people can get educated and think about, if each person just thinks about one thing. Oh, I drink coffee every day. Who's making my coffee? Oh, I drink tea. Who's making my tea? Who's making my chocolate? Sugar's another one. Where is that all coming from? So if we just pay attention to those things, we can make an impact. Each one of us can make an impact, even if it's small. That impact will ripple across a large range of people.
Well, and if we make consumers aware of the companies that they're going to be more in tune and gravitate towards that. Because now you just made me think about it. Now I want to know, because I buy Folgers coffee. Now I want to know. And if Folgers isn't participating in that, or if I need to find out who is.
Yeah.
I don't eat a lot of chocolate, but now I will pay attention, because all these things, gosh, what about clothes, deodorant, everything?
Yeah, clothes, definitely. There's a whole, the slave trade. The biggest problem, the thing that started people paying attention to clothes, was a big accident that happened in Bangladesh many, many years ago. They knew the building was unstable. I read the article about the people on the bottom floor. They cleared out the building, but the people who owned the factory made the people go up and work in the factory, and they locked them in, and the building collapsed and killed something like 1,400 people.
Wow.
So it's just, and living in Los Angeles, downtown LA has had problems with that as well.
Right.
I actually get one of the t-shirts I use is, they're not a member of the Fair Trade Federation, but I've been to their factory, is Bella Canvas. And I've been to their factory in downtown LA before I was involved in fair trade, because I went with somebody else. We were going to do a little t-shirt thing. And I researched their website to make sure that, okay, and I saw the factory, it was clean. The workers looked like that they were happy. They were fine. Nobody looked like, oh gosh, don't talk to me. Don't look at me. It was a really nice, clean factory, well lit. It was well ventilated. It was great. So I have confidence knowing that when I buy t-shirts to use for my Baskets and Beats Kenya t-shirts, that it came from somebody that does fair trade type practices.
Right.
So it's like, you just have to pick, like the place to start is to pick one thing. So you said coffee, you have to pay attention to your coffee. Equal exchange.
Right.
We carry that in Fair Trade Long Beach, where I have a space. Equal exchange is a fair trade coffee, but there are more. And if you go to some place like Whole Foods, you can just look for the label on it. It'll say fair trade certified or fair trade coffee. And that way you just take that one thing, bam, you can start there.
Yes,
and then,
that was one.
Yeah.
When you think about a whole list of things I want to pay attention to. Never once thought about that. So that's the other thing I like about with Comedy for Causes is it's about raising awareness for various, for example, I did a show for a pit bull, it wasn't pit bull. It was, maybe it was pit bull. What are the ones, pit bulls are the ones, yes, people are scared of. So it was a pit bull rescue. And the reason I wanted to do that show is because I was afraid of pit bulls, because I was under the impression that pit bulls were bad dogs, as are a lot of people. However, they educated me. It's not the dog, it's the people.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to do this show to educate me as well as other people. So I think it's a lot about raising awareness about things. You know, a lot of times we'll bring a problem, but not a solution. So if you're going to bring one to the table, bring the other side by side. Yeah. So now you've educated me on the fair trade, and now I know how to combat that. So now I know what to look for. So it's all about raising awareness too. And that's what we're doing.
Awesome. Well, this has been a wonderful conversation. I look forward to seeing you on Saturday. And I believe I think in the comments of the post about the show, I had put the little flyer, but I'll make sure that I put it in the comments of the actual recording so people can have the information as well.
Okay.
So noon to 4 in Rancho Cucamonga. The address and information will be in the little thingy, the little flyer, the meme, whatever. And I look forward to seeing you and connecting with you. If you can come out, if you're local to the area, come on by, support that, shop small, shop fair, support small business. We're all working to make a difference and help somebody, help ourselves, help our families. Next week, my guest will be Teresa Baxter of Fair Trade Long Beach, because next Saturday, not this coming Saturday, next Saturday in Parkview Village in Long Beach, we're having our second Saturday event. So we'll be talking about that. And again, continuing the conversation about the importance of fair trade, shopping small, and how you can come and visit us there as well. Laniea, thanks so much. I appreciate you coming, and I look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Yes, thank you so much.
Awesome. Bye, everybody. Nakupenda.